As a young man, 17 years old, when you started ministering, teaching the gospel.
Yeah, I got my license to preach when I was 17 years old. Became a believer when I was 13. But really here in the last 3 years is what my life has really changed. Like I said, I started preaching from the time of 17. And, and I left there and went to Philadelphia, played there for 8 years, left Philadelphia and went to Green Bay, and played there for 6 years. And when I retired, is when the Father really began to deal with me.
With that time, you related something that happened on a plane during that period of time, and that's really what began to change your life.
Yeah, that's what began to change my life. The reason I say my life has changed more than what happened to me when I was 13 years old, because I feel like that my deliverance came 3 years ago. I was right on the plane reading a book about the early church, and it was a story about the early church, and it was talking about how when the 3,000 people got saved, that they didn't go home. They stayed there, sat at the feet of the apostles, adopted the apostles' doctrine. They took care of one another. The rich took care of the poor. But after a period of time, these people were dispersed throughout Judea, and I noticed they began to flow in their gifts without realizing they had a gift. It became natural to them. And I remember when I closed the book up, the Father spoke to me during a period of time and told me to leave the ministry. And I've been
to leave the ministry.
Right, and I've been in preaching for 21 years at that time. And I said, that's fine with me. I want to stay home more. My kids are getting older. I want to spend more time with my wife and kids at home instead of doing a lot of traveling. But then I asked, why do you want me to leave? And the Father spoke to me and said, I never appointed you, nor did I approve you. Scripture says that we should study to show ourselves approved unto God. And I was never a good studier. And a lot of times when I was preaching stuff that I heard somebody else preach, instead of letting God give me a revelation of what he wanted to be said. And I would preach the same message over and over and over again. I asked the Father 2 questions that changed my life. Number 1, I asked him, if your word said if we love you, we should keep your commandments, which ones are you talking about? And he said, I'm talking about all of them. Knowing that all of them can't apply to us today, because there's some things that we can't do. But there are spiritual implications, even things that we can't do. Mm-hmm. And then I said, okay, if you said that we should observe your Sabbath on the 7th day, why did you change it to the 1st day? And he said, I didn't do that. Y'all did that. And the more I studied, I began to realize it was Constantine that started this process. And I told my family, we're going to observe a 7-day Sabbath.
Now, for over a year, you have been diligently studying Hebrew so that you can read the scriptures in the original language and actually have a Torah scroll that was smuggled out of Iraq when Hussein wanted to destroy all of them, mm-hmm. and that you actually have the Torah written on an entire flock of sheep, about 300 years old, that's in your home, that now you can read.
Right, and that's my goal, is to be able to read that scroll. And be able to teach from it. To me, as I read the English text, I get frustrated because when I read the Hebrew text and see things in the Hebrew text, I can now see some of the mistakes in the translation. So that, not that I don't read the English text, but being able to understand the true translation gives me an opportunity to see behind the translation and to give a real understanding of what God really said in the original language.